This is the 4th generation Yamaha R15 and it carries over the same engine from the previous model. Over the years, the R15 has become the go-to machine for young riders who are enthusiastic about turning petrol into pure fun. So, can this new R15 live up to the expectations of the many enthusiasts across this country? Can it still be the machine that is in their grasp? Let's find out. This is a work of art. Yamaha has devoted a lot of time and attention towards improving the look of this bike and giving us a world-class design. Much like the Aerox 155 that I rode just a few days ago, the V4 also looks exotic. The front is definitely an improvement over the previous one. It looks a lot more mean now, and in fact, if you look at it head on, it feels as if you're staring at a very angry Cyclops. There is an LED bulb in the center and these DRLs which lead towards it, and the throw from this light is quite decent. The illumination is excellent though. Now coming to the fairing, this is also much neater compared to the previous model. It had a lot of chiseled lines, a lot of cuts. This one is a lot smoother and it looks neat. On top of that, Yamaha has also worked on improving the overall fit and finish and build quality of this motorcycle, which I appreciate a lot because that is something that I did feel that was missing from the V3. You get 3 color options for the R15 and 2 more if you go for the M variant. On top of this, the M variant also gets a few more cosmetic changes and also gets a quick shifter as standard. In fact, this racing blue color is also a little more pricey than the base variant, but it also comes with a quick shifter. More on that later. This instrument cluster that you see here is new. While in the V3, the display was narrower but wider, this one is a bit more squarish. As a result of that, you have a little more room for things to be displayed and it looks a little more neat in my opinion. In addition to the normal things that you find on these displays, this also has a track mode which can display a lap timer, which is pretty cool. So if you take this bike out on a track, you can definitely make use of this. You use the switch on the handlebar to cycle through all the information. This time around, Yamaha has also given a hazard indicator. If I were to nitpick, the pass light is still on the high beam switch and I feel that having a trigger is a much more intuitive option. And now let us address the engine on the V4. Yes, it is the same 155cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled unit that was also seen on the V3, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. On paper, the power has gone down slightly and the torque has gone up, but in practice, this bike still feels every bit as fun as the V3 did. This engine feels the happiest in higher revs and boy does it sound good. Also, when you're riding this bike, it's very easy to not notice and go past 7,000 or 8,000 RPM because it's just that effortless. I did, however, feel that the bike lacked a little bit of power in the lower end of the RPM band because when you're ambling around in the second gear or you're trying to pick up speed in the first 3 gears, that is when you'll notice that it does lack a little power when you are going through that phase. Despite this, never did the bike stall, and I'm really thankful for that. In fact, I even went over a speed breaker in the 3rd gear, and like I said, the bike did not stall. And talking about the gears, well, this 6-speed unit is still as easy to work with as it used to be. You still get the slip and assist clutch, which means the clutch lever is super light. You can easily pull it and it won't stress your left arm. You also are getting a quick shifter this time around. However, in city usage, you really won't be making full use of it, and it's not the most refined unit I've used. It's not bad, but I've seen better. So unless you take it on a racetrack, you won't be needing that quick shifter all too often. VVA is still here too, and the cam switch happens at 7,400 RPM, and it is then when you can just feel the bike fly, just like the many airplanes that have been going over us. Mileage wise, this is still a very good engine. Despite being a performance oriented motorcycle, I was easily able to get around 45 kmpl in city while I was riding in a mixed sort of condition, and if you take it out on a highway, you can expect above 50 kmpl very easily, and even more depending on how you ride. Talking about the riding position, well, there's no surprise in that this bike offers a very committed riding position, and you get clip-ons up front. What this means is that you can easily tuck and go faster. On top of that, these clip-ons are wide enough that you can make U-turn maneuvers on this bike rather easily. Talking of the seat height, well, it's 815 mm, and even shorter riders can easily put their feet down and get stability when they're at a red light or stopped. The seat cushion, however, is a bit too stiff for my liking, and I would have preferred a softer one. We finally get upside down forks on the R15. People wanted this on the V3, but we did not get it, but now we do have them, and the overall suspension setup is obviously on the stiffer side. However, it can absorb a decent amount of bumps and bad roads if you weigh more than 5 kilograms, which I don't. So I obviously had a little trouble with the rear suspension, but obviously if you are well built and if you weigh more than me, then this bike can absorb a lot of the shocks, and it's not going to be a problem in city use. Apart from this, the motorcycle is as agile as ever, and the tires do a great job of sticking to the tarmac through corners or on long stretches. And Yamaha has also added a traction control system this time around. However, since this bike does not make enough amount of power, you will hardly ever use it, but it's there as a safety net should you find yourself in that slippery situation. Believe it or not, but the V4 also has trouble getting the braking setup right, just like the V3. When the V3 was launched, it came with a single channel ABS and was eventually upgraded to dual channel, but this one gets dual channel ABS from the get-go. However, the ABS settings have been turned up to 11, which means the ABS intrusion is very apparent, and the rear brake on top of that also lacks some initial bite. When you press the brakes hard, the bike does come to a stop, but a little more initial feel would have been welcomed. These brakes are perfectly usable for city use, but should you choose to take this bike on a track, then you would feel the need for a slightly more potent braking setup. Despite the small niggles I've had with this bike, I can confidently say that it deserves all the praise and prestige that its predecessors have held. It is still a great racing machine, a great platform for people who want to just get into professional racing and want to have their first proper motorcycle. But is it still the bike that is within reach of common people like you and I? Well, it is definitely more pricey than before, and it's more expensive than any other previous iteration of the bike. If you want quantity over quality, then yes, there are many other options that you could look at. But I can assure you that no other bike in this or around this price point can offer you the kind of kit, refinement and thrill of riding that the R15 serves you on an ornate platter.